So is being an introvert alone on a crowded cruise ship a nightmare? Or is wandering alone in the mountains anxiety-inducing? Some people tend to think so, but the truth depends entirely on your introvert type. This video was born out of the challenge some people have in reconciling that I can enjoy long stretches alone in the mountains and being on a cruise ship surrounded by thousands of people. They literally ask, how can both of these be true? So it comes down to two things: misconceptions about introverts and the fact that all introverts are not the same. So let's break it down. The key facet of my personality that allows me to enjoy what some see as two extremes is that I am an introvert. There are two common misconceptions about introverts that play into this: that we're all bookish, glass-wearing hermits who live in libraries and possibly these days, for some reason, look like Emma Watson, and that we are riddled with social anxiety and recoil from human interaction. The truth is, neither of these are necessarily true. The only core truth about introverts is that we gain energy from being alone and lose energy in social situations. That's why I don't mind long stretches of solitude. Constant, intense and overbearing social interactions, not so much. But within the width of that spectrum, there is a lot of variety. But even among introverts, there are differences, which is why some people can understand my love for solo hiking, but not my ability to enjoy a busy cruise ship. One model for recognising these differences suggests there are 4 types. Here's how the 4 introvert types might differ. Social introverts. They prefer smaller groups and meaningful conversations or spending time alone. We can be very selective about socialising and like to have control over when it happens. In travel, they might enjoy solo hikes, but also occasional deep, serendipitous conversations with fellow hikers or cruisers. In small groups and one-to-one. Thinking introverts, they enjoy introspection and spending time in their creative imagination. They can be highly analytical, logical and independent. They also love solo travel because it gives them space to think and experiences to reflect on later. In fact, it could be said for the thinking introvert, an experience hasn't really happened until they can go away and think and process it. Now we have anxious introverts. They can feel anxious or self-conscious in social situations. They ruminate about past interactions and worry about upcoming social events. Now it's very important to separate this from actual social anxiety disorders, but they are more reticent about that social experience. Travel might feel overwhelming, especially when dealing with unexpected encounters or unfamiliar places. Now the restrained introvert, they hold themselves back and can take time to warm up to people. They avoid spontaneity, prefer predictability and like to see, they like to ease into new situations. And they can maybe be less emotional. Solo travel could be enjoyable if maybe it's structured and more planned and lacks a bit of spontaneity and surprise so they can assess the situation. The video description includes a link to a test that will tell you your introvert type. If you take it, post your results in the comments because I'm very interested in the results people get. Now, knowing that I love both solo hiking and navigating a cruise ship, which tends to be the two things people have problems reconciling, what 2 introvert types do you think I am? Because the test tends to come back with 2. Pause and take a guess before I reveal it. So I took the test and it came back as social thinking introvert, which explains exactly why I travel the way I do. In fact, I'm usually quite reticent about these tests, but this one was quite on target. As a thinking introvert, I love solo travel because it gives me the space to think about experiences and process them and learn from them. That's why I thrive in nature and can also enjoy quiet moments on a cruise ship. Even being around people isn't an issue because I enjoy observing them, right? If I'm on a cruise to Alaska, I get both solitude and social energy on my terms. As a social introvert, I don't mind serendipitous one-on-one or small group conversations when travelling, whether it's a chat with a fellow hiker or someone in a hot tub on a cruise ship. One of the running jokes on my last cruise was hot tub conversations. They happened every time I went into the hot tub. You know, deep, meaningful conversations about the experiences we'd had on the cruise and people's lives. Absolutely fantastic. These conversations are great because, let me tell you a tip, because travel naturally, especially certain types of travel, skips across small talk. All right? You're on a cruise to Alaska, you're experiencing vast vistas and crazy national parks. You instantly have common experiences to talk about that cut straight across the small talk. I still make sure I can exit these conversations when I want to, but the right interactions can be energizing in small doses, as long as then I get a chance to go back to something that's more solitude based so I can recharge. If the way you travel matches your personality, the conversations that arise will too. They naturally fall into the deep, meaningful discussions that social introverts prefer. So what about anxious or restrained introverts, you may ask? And this is why some people struggle to reconcile my travel choices with being an introvert, because they maybe fall differently on the scale. An anxious or restrained introvert might need more structure and predictability in solo travel. A cruise might feel like a minefield of potential unwanted social encounters. A solo hike could feel too risky or overwhelming without a clear plan. Where I don't mind some level of spontaneity, risk or controlled social interactions, these same elements could make travel exhausting or unappealing for someone who falls into the other two types. A difference in introvert types certainly explains different travel preferences, but I can only speak for my experience, right? If you take the test and get a different result, I'd love to hear how that affects your travel choices, because I am in some way guessing. I mean, drop your thoughts in the comments, because I would be very interested in people who fall differently in these quadrants, explaining how that affects their travel choices. So in the future, I think I'm going to explore more topics around travel challenges that might deter introverts or limit their enjoyment. If that interests you, definitely also post that in the comments. In the meantime, check out this video on the right, where I break down why people mistake introversion for social anxiety, or the video on the left, where I take a light-hearted look at why you should never ask an introvert what they do with their spare time.